Yes.
That's all I'm going to say.
Yes.
Always at least 10 degrees cooler. And the wind's always blowing. You could
Always.
no wind at your house. You could leave. You could have shorts and a t-shirt on. You could be sunning in your driveway.
You get out there, it's like,
Yeah. Yeah, cold. Cold air.
and you're like,
A chill. Yeah.
give me a blanket.
That's how it is. Baseball field and car dealership. That's it. All right, congratulations going out to Breonna Taylor from Ocean View. You were the 7th texter to text in Summer Jam. You're now qualified. Of course, Summer Jam is coming to New York. We're the only station hooking you up, Jess. You got all the 411.
Yes, we got that hookup. Doja Cat is going to be there, Offset, Sexy Red. They'll be celebrating the legacy of Method Man and Redman live on stage. Sleepy Hollow, DeVito, T Grizzly, 41, French Montana. Oh, it's going to be a great show. Of course, we have your ticket giveaway coming up on May the 29th at 8:20, and it's all brought to you by the Used Car Factory. Did you know that you can buy a car for as little as $100 per week? Well, the Used Car Factory is located in Frankfort, Delaware on Route 113. Check them out online at usedcarfactoryfrankfurt.com.
714. Well, we got a real-life astronaut on the line. Cady Coleman.
Hi there.
Hey, it's
Hi.
Bill and Jessica, Power 1017. How are you?
Good morning.
I am great. Nice to talk to you.
Yes, thank you so much for checking in. Chemist, engineer, former U.S. Air Force, colonel, retired NASA astronaut. First off, U.S. Air Force, thank you so much for your service.
Yes, thank you.
Well, thank you very much.
Yes, absolutely. I don't know if we've ever talked to a real-life astronaut before,
I don't
Jess.
think we have.
Wow.
This is a first for us.
A first for the Bill and Jessica show. So welcome. For people who, don't know exactly like what you guys do on day to day, can you kind of, give us kind of like the rundown of what it takes to become an astronaut?
Well, these days it's a collection of people. We pick them every couple of years, and it's usually somebody who works in STEM, science, engineering, science or math. A lot of us have a little A next to our names too for art, music and painting and poetry, and a lot of us have some different dimensions. Getting selected and then getting qualified, and what we're doing in space these days is we're getting ready to go to Mars.
Yeah.
And Mars, now I'm going to say that, having said that, it's a long ways off, okay? Probably in the 30s. But we're not going to be ready if we don't start now. And two of the biggest ways to do that are to learn everything we can in the place that we know how to live, which is right in space around the Earth, like in low Earth orbit. And we've got a space station up there. There can be anywhere from 7 to, a dozen people up there. And I got to live there for almost 6 months, not long enough. And we get to kind of practice, like, what if we were, like, living on the moon? What if we were living on Mars? What would we miss? What don't we have? What's surprising us? And that's one place. And we're getting ready to go and live on the moon. Have people not just go back and visit, but actually, it counts to go further than just around the Earth. So, that's what's happening right now. And about every 6 months, new crews will go up and exchange, and the old crews will come back. And that happened to me a bunch of years ago. Actually, I came back in 2011 from my mission, and this really cool director asked me questions about that mission that nobody had ever asked. And from that, he decided to make this movie called The Longest Goodbye, which is about what happens to people in space.
Interesting, man. That's just amazing. I looked here. You departed the International Space Station May 23rd, 2011 as a crew member of Expedition 27 after logging 159 days in space. First off, how long does it take to get there? How long does it take to actually be? Because I'm sure, you've seen the Jeff Bezos, William Shatner, hey, let's shoot up to space in less than 30 seconds or a minute or whatever. Like, what's your whole take on that, number one? And then how long did it take you guys to get up there? What's the real timing of it all?
Well, the real timing is, in terms of getting up to orbit and staying there, is that takes basically a certain amount of propulsion, of just, pushing your spacecraft up there to get there. And it takes about, I think this will surprise people, 8.5 minutes.
Wow.
To get to space. Now, it does take longer to parallel park, anywhere from a few hours to a few days, because it depends, like,
Right.
when did you launch and how far you have to catch up with the space station kind of thing. And then what those other missions, we call them suborbital, meaning not quite in orbit, right? What they're doing is they are launching up to space, well into space, and then they are just arcing back down. And they're spending about 3 or 4 minutes in space and in weightlessness. And even though that's not a long time, that view of the Earth and being part of something like that, it changes you. And in my experience, not everybody is a gazillionaire that goes. All those companies are bringing folks that they think really just deserve to be up there because they've served in some way, down here on the Earth, or done things that have been people like Wally Funk, a woman aviator that really never got to go to space but did so much pioneering. So to me, even though they're just really great possibilities, all these things.
What, I can imagine, that it does change you. Like, I mean, when you get up there, when you guys finally, reach space, like you looked out the window or the portal or whatever, it was weightlessness. You guys were floating. Like, how was it? What was that feeling like? What was it like for people, most people, pretty much everybody probably who has never been there?
It is magical. And the magic never goes away. It's just like you just go, wow, could people really do this? Could you really just be weightless? And I could give myself the push with just like a little tiny fingernail, and I will go all the way across the space station. And so it is like living the life of Peter Pan, which for someone not graceful like me is very, very compelling. But also that view out the window that really you look there and you see the curve of the Earth, and you realize that you are going around the Earth in a spacecraft. Mm-hmm. And, I actually do think that sometimes, here on Earth we have experiences that can be a bit like that, really, in that, like, I don't know if any of you got to see the eclipse together. And even if you don't get to see complete totality, the world changed in just a few minutes. It was something that's, like, not really supposed to happen, and then it does happen, and you realize, wow, this is how the world works. And you'll be standing next to somebody you barely know, and then after that, you have a closer relationship to them. And so these are really special experiences, and that's, I think, in this movie, The Longest Goodbye, what is so special is that often you're just going to hear some engineering description of, we went, we did these things, what the mission is like, and this really shows you the very human side of getting to leave the planet and still being attached to people that you really love back home.
Man, awesome. Again, of course, the documentary Space, The Longest Goodbye, available on the PBS app. It's also on YouTube as well, right?
Maybe YouTube. It's definitely on Amazon Prime and also on, but it's definitely on PBS, wherever you find PBS. Like Amazon Prime and Apple TV. And I love it that it's so many places right now because it's just a really different movie than you've ever seen about space. And it'll show you that a real person like you could do whatever the job of your dreams is, which I think is pretty wonderful to have you guys on the radio. So thank you very much.
Oh, no, absolutely. Now, I do have to ask you because, people always wonder this, and forgive me for the question, but how do you, with no gravity, how do you go to the bathroom? Please tell me. I mean, this is just a question that everybody's on their mind, and sometimes they feel funny about asking, but how is it
it's so important, and it's so cool. And it's also a question that really kind of says, hey, like, I'm a human being. I'm going to go up there. Is it going to be okay for me?
Yes.
And I'll tell you, it is easier than any camping trip that I've ever been on. We use, and do not try this at home, and this includes you, mature co-host people, but we use the principle of vacuum. And it's a suction, not like, and it's really just that, like, for peeing, you just hold that hose with a funnel at the end, you hold it up right near you, and everything all the pee goes right, into the pot, gets recycled, and then about a day later we drink it, by the way. And everything else, everything messy, I tell people there's a little vacuum, it all goes into this, like, plastic bag, and it kind of has little holes in it, which brings it in, but not enough to get everything icky. And then, you just push that down, blump, blump, blump. And when the can gets full, on our missions, we would get to shut the can, add a new one, only happens at 3 a.m. And then we would throw that stuff away in the next trash ship. But if you go to space by that time, and we'll be going to Mars and the moon, we will need all that poop to be planted in our potatoes or whatever.
Oh, wow. Drink it, need it. Nice.
God.
Well, look, I have so many questions to continue, but they're telling me that we got to wrap up because of time. But again, hopefully we'll have you, back on. You'll be able to come back on and spend a little bit more time with us. The documentary Space, The Longest Goodbye, available on the PBS app, of course, also on Amazon. And I believe you can watch it on YouTube. I was watching a little bit of it. And,
good, yeah.
look for it again. Space, The Longest Goodbye. Astronaut, Cady Coleman. Man, it's been a pleasure. Thank you
awesome.
so much for coming on.
Hey, for me too. Thanks for telling the stories. Appreciate it.
Yes. Have a great day.
I'ma make some shake. You're listening to the